Welcome to the Hacky Hub.
Have you been in Boston long?
Oh my God, off to a good start. Welcome to the Hockey Hub.
Good morning. Welcome to the Hockey Hub.
Sophia and Kasey here with you. I don't even know what I was trying to say. I'm just turning up my levels over here. Okay, welcome to the Hockey Hub, everyone.
I was going to say, you're just around some real true blue Bostonians.
Yes, welcome to the Happy Hub. Happy Thanksgiving, belated Thanksgiving. I know everyone's kind of over it, so we're not going to talk about it too much, but you were in Florida. I wanted just to reference that you got to see your family.
I did. I got to see a lot of faces that I haven't seen in well over a year. And then as soon as I touched down, went skating with my best friend and her sons, because I'm the hockey aunt. So that was
nice.
Yeah, so that was fun to go see all my little mullet heads and skate with the boys, and then go golfing. First time I've golfed in a year. So it was just like, my friends put together a really nice itinerary that just kept everything going. And then before I knew it, I was with my family for 3.5, 4 days, yeah.
Okay, nice. It's a nice whirlwind. She was supposed to be off, but she worked on Friday. Co-hosted with me, the Hockey Hub, on Friday ahead of the game. Girl, I went to the game on Friday as my first time.
I was gonna say, what time did you make it there?
1:30.
Okay.
I had my friend waiting for me at my place. We got into an Uber. The traffic was done. Hopped out 1:30, so we made it with 5 minutes left in the first. It was already 2-0. The first and only game I've ever gone to as a fan, because I'm either like trying to take a break and just watch from home when I'm not working, or I don't get tickets.
Mode.
Yeah, and it was the first game as a fan, and it stunk. Like the game, like the vibe was so bad. I was so sad.
I actually thought of you because you were like, we knew that you were going to the game, and I was like, imagine what it feels like going to this game. And it's funny because I had my mom and my sisters watching it because they were asking a million questions, and then at one point I was just like, yeah, this isn't the game that I want to teach you guys much about.
I know. It was good for Rangers fans because there were a lot there, and it is a classic rivalry. I'm sitting like a slob. I wasn't ready. I'm sorry, Mark. That's our producer. I wasn't ready for today. But listen, before we get into the show, obviously we're going to discuss the Boston Bruins, where they're at after their last win. We have Scott McLaughlin on. He is just coming from Warrior, and he might be actually even taking the call from Warrior, but he's covering the Bruins all the time. Had a great article out over the weekend. And Jamie Lee Rattray as well, of the PWHL Fleet, who are a perfect 2-0 to start their season. They've played 2 games, so we're going to talk to them. And we also have sound and updates for you from the Boston Bruins, because we know they are beaten down bad, as many teams in the league.
Yeah.
So, Case, before I let you chat about it, just to give you the update, Viktor Arvidsson is going to be back in the lineup tomorrow. So he's going to be traveling to Detroit, and he led the stretch today with the team. So good for him. He'll be back. And David Pastrnak will not. Oh, we have video of it. Perfect. So he's expected to return tomorrow, barring anything going wrong, but he will be traveling. And David Pastrnak, who's missed the last couple of games with an undisclosed injury. Don't take it from me. I don't want to say this, but I'm saying it. It's just not official at all. But remember, he missed a bit of a bit of preseason.
Oh yeah,
with an injury.
Yeah.
And I just had it on the tip of my tongue. I'll get it for you in a second. But anyway, David Pastrnak, the injury is undisclosed. Marco Sturm said it shouldn't be long-term, but for now he's still listed as day-to-day. And the Bruins coming off a big win, where Morgan Geekie is the man again.
Continues being Morgan Geekie. I think that's all of our favorite parts. And it's something to be hopeful about when you're seeing all these injuries kind of take place and run their way through locker room after locker room. And I feel like fans, and all of us actually, every time we see a new injury and a lineup change, it becomes more worrisome, just to kind of see how this team is going to continue to try to solidify themselves when you've got guys in and out of the lineup. But I feel like opportunity has been the key word and theme over the last month, especially when it comes to the Boston Bruins. And as much as you don't want to see your key players out of the mix, then you want to see what the potential depth can look like, what next man up actually means for this team and this roster. And I know that there's fans just kind of waiting to see what the pull-ups are going to continue to be out of Providence. But in the meantime, at least you have Morgan Geekie, who's continuing to just shine. And I think what's most exciting about watching it is, at training camp, you and I were there. I was only with you for the first day or two, but he very enthusiastically just talked about, what he worked on in the off season and how he had fun with it, and how he'll wait and see how it translates throughout the season. And it's translating beautifully throughout the season. Yeah, and Billy Jaffe pointed out on our pre and post game show, what he's practicing all the time. He's staying a little bit later sometimes with one-timers. His one-timer was a point of emphasis over the offseason. Exactly, and it just goes to show that even at this level,
level, practice, as Billy said, practice makes perfect, and the practicing matters. And we know that most teams, including the Boston Bruins, who are still kind of that team that's played the most games in the league, not the team, but the top 5, 10 who've played the most games. So they've had the least amount of practice time, and it just goes to show what practice can do for players when they finally get that time in.
Yeah.
We have some Morgan Geekie sound after the win on Saturday, so why don't we hear from him?
How does it feel going toe-to-toe with Nathan MacKinnon?
I don't know. I'm not supposed to be there, so I don't know. It's fun. It's cool. I don't know. It's not much. I used to watch that guy growing up. I know he's not that much older than me, but he was in the league a lot before I was, so it's cool. It's super fun, but it's still early, and there's lots of season left.
Does that still feel like you're not supposed to be there to you? Do you feel that way?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm not to say that I don't think that I am a good player, but just, those guys are a different caliber, it seems like, at least in my mind. So.
I love the humility from Morgan Geekie.
So much of it.
And I love him so much as a person. So if he's watching, that I say this with all due respect, obviously, but I like how he said, I'm not supposed to be there. We got to remember, McKinnon's got like 44 points because he's got 24 assists, I think, maybe more now, and a plus 10, something up there. But that's different. Too, but for Morgan Geekie, what we're seeing is that the ceiling, we don't know where it is. It could keep going. And just like David Pastrnak in his first couple of years was an elite goal scorer, now he's become this passing machine. Like, we don't know where Morgan Geekie's going to go. He's scoring right now. Maybe the assists are going to pile up when Pasta's back or later on in his career, but you just got to be happy with his performance.
Big time. I love how he says it's still early, and it's like, yeah, it's still early, but like, you've got 20 goals this early on. But definitely a very humble family. I don't know Morgan Geekie that well, but I did cover his brother Connor down in Tampa, and like, it's across the board the humility that this family has, and like, no matter how much you pump their tires, they stay right there. So it's a very cool thing to see, and it just kind of makes the sky the limit for a player like that. A number of us, and Pete talked about it on Friday, like, anyone who kind of watched his game in Seattle, you saw the potential and where things could possibly go. And I would just love to stand on a soapbox and say, this is why team, system, and coaching matters, because the team, the system, and the coach that you are working underneath, that can just bring different parts of your game to life. And you're seeing a very versatile player out of Morgan Geekie, because on top of the 20 goals, you're talking about a guy that helps out when it comes to hits. He's kind of anything and everything that you need him to be on the ice and to facilitate that top line role, but you can put him anywhere. So he's just become this player that you can heavily rely on, this leader that you can heavily rely on. And to your point, if he needs to become an assist machine, I'm sure he can go there. But one of the heaviest shots in the league right now, he's just continuing to break barriers as a Bruins player. And I feel like they're just barely getting their footing to have the condensed schedule, to barely have practice time, to have this new system, to have this new coach. Just imagine where things can go with more time behind it. And I feel like Geekie's going to be a bigger face in that sense too.
100%, we're talking about forwards, but blue liners obviously so important. We've barely had any games where Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy are in the lineup at the same time. Hampus makes the beginning. They kind of finally cross paths. We're like, okay, we're getting the defensive structure going, and then Charlie McAvoy's out. One of the updates there over the weekend, though, so it's not brand new, but he has been skating on his own. He was placed on LTIR, so that does mean he has to miss at least a significant amount of time. I believe it's 26 days and 10 games, but either way, good to see him skating on his own. Casey, we did hear from Casey Mittelstadt, who got the shootout winner, one of the shootout winners on Saturday. He spoke this morning from Warrior, so let's play that.
I think it's just the lungs. I think no matter how much conditioning you do and how many things you're doing when you're away from the team, it's just the lungs of the game and the stops and the starts and some of the physicality. But, I thought it went pretty well, and they do a good job here, obviously, keeping you in shape and making sure when that time comes you're ready to go. So I was happy with how it went.
How good is it to see across the board guys stepping up with so many, two guys out of the lineup right now and just getting it out there?
Yeah. I think it speaks to the depth of our team. Obviously, with the top end guys, we have a ton of talent and a ton of guys who can make plays. But I think as you go up and down the lineup, some guys aren't getting enough credit for what they've done this year. And I think having those guys out can sometimes shine a light on that a little bit.
Arvidsson's back on that line with you and Sophia. You had success there earlier on this season. What does it feel like being together again, getting a little bit of health back?
Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, like you said, I think we have some good chemistry and have played well together. So, anytime you get someone back, especially Arvi, a big part of our team, it's very exciting. So, looking forward to tomorrow.
Speaking of guys that have stepped up, a lot of people had praised for Mark Castle last game. What's it been like seeing him kind of have a bigger role for you guys this year?
Yeah, I mean, Cassie's been awesome. I think sometimes, like I said before, these guys don't get enough credit, especially the tough guys who run around playing hard every night. And, I think you've seen Cassie also show some of his skill this year. I think he has underrated skill. So it's been awesome. And, anytime you see that, you're very happy for him.
Now that you've settled into the wing position, how comfortable do you feel, as a member of this team and knowing what's expected of you?
Yeah, I think Marco's done a good job of that with the guys, making it clear what he wants to see and how he wants you to play. And, it's really helped me. And obviously, maybe a little bit of adjustment period to get to the wing. But, I felt like it's gone smoothly. I've played enough of it in my life to feel like I can switch back and forth a little bit. So I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, playing with Pat, playing with a heck of a centerman, so he makes it pretty easy on us.
All right, Casey Mittelstadt contributing since he's been out. Mm-hmm. And last season, you know this very well because you covered the team as well, but last season he came at the deadline, and I would say such a tough position for anyone to come in, but one of the people we were like, is he going to make an impact? Is he going to be better? I don't like using that word because I don't like criticizing, but is he going to be better, more consistent, difference maker than he was at the end of last season? And so far, yes.
Yeah, and you love to see something like this because of all the criticism that kind of comes with it, and I feel like everyone kind of asked their toe lining questions to him towards the end of last season, throughout training camp this year, and I feel like he handled all of it quite gracefully considering. But yeah, all everyone's been asking for is just more consistency out of Mittelstadt. And in Buffalo, when he was kind of trying to find his way, they did punch him out to the wing, and he was able to be successful there, and I feel like that was kind of a nugget they were able to pull off of. But this is exactly what Marco Sturm has been known to do, like see something in a player and kind of encourage them to buy into it. And I've said it before, and I said it on Boston's End of the Chat quite a bit, like I feel like this is the larger conversation of buy-in. It's players trusting their skill set when they're asked to do something different or when they're asked to do something that they haven't quite consistently done. And you and I heard from Nate Thompson himself talking about, how Marco Sturm was good at that as well. So it's good to see Casey be able to help there. And it's going to be really nice to see this second line reunite because this was kind of a really driving force of a line for this Bruins team in a number of games before things started to have to get shuffled around a lot more. So we're looking at a lineup that could potentially have the reestablished identity of their second line and their third line, two very accountable lines in a sense. And, Casey's playing his best when Pavel Zacha's in the middle and Arvidsson's on the other side, and they started to get a really good chemistry going amongst the three of them to start finding scoring chances and be one of the only lines that kind of has scoring going when this Bruins team is playing a tough opponent.
No, 100%. It was something that we weren't sure where we were going to get secondary scoring from. We know the third line is a lot of opportunities, a little bit of scoring there, but they're creating the energy, creating offensive zone time and chances. And then that second line, the one that is back together with Arvidsson, hopefully getting the start, but he's expected to play Tuesday against the Detroit Red Wings with Pavel Zacha in the middle, Casey on the left and Arvidsson on the right. They were getting stuff done and they were contributing to secondary scoring, which leaves, we don't have Pasta on the top line, or Morgan Geekie keeps firing off, but it just balances it out, and it's two tough lines to roll out against opponents, and it's good to see them back.
Yeah, and plus, some of the things that got away from this team a little bit was being able to finish off some of the net front opportunities, and that's where Viktor Arvidsson, whether you wanted to give him credit for it or not, that's where he was really coming in hot for this team. He was always finding space or making space, commanding space in front of the net, and Casey, especially with his passing abilities, was able to find him. So there was a number of plays that were getting set up, and Mittelstadt's passing that was talked about time and time again, no matter what team he's on, we started to see that come to life because now he knows how to kind of orchestrate on that second line. So that's a presence that I feel like has been significantly missed, and while others have stepped up tremendously, that's a sweet spot that hopefully Arvidsson can get right back to.
Yeah, no, 100%. One of the other talking points we can get to before we toss to break really quick is Jeremy Swayman having an amazing month. Let's hear from Marco Sturm on how Sway's helped the team kind of feed off of his energy.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you guys feel it, the fans, everyone upstairs. I think we feel it, and most importantly, our players feel it, and it's such a good feeling when you have that, right? And no, all year long he's been, again, since day one I met him, he's been rock solid off the ice and on the ice, and the calmness he brings in every game now, and giving us a chance to win every game, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, the calmness is real. So Jeremy Swayman, 4th in the league with the 4th highest save percentage at .915, and this is for goalies who've played a minimum of 15 games, because of course some of them backups playing less, but the games that they've played mattered. And the games for Jeremy Swayman, 8-2-0 in November, 10 starts in November with a 2.06 GAA and a .936 save percentage. And let me tell you, it's not easy anytime you're taking a shootout on Patrick Kane.
He's fancy.
Yes, he's fancy, and we know. But Jeremy Swayman, just a lot of swag in that game, a lot of calmness when things were getting tough, and especially with the goal, the empty netter that didn't go in, and they had their goalie pulled, but still stayed in it. Gave up a goal, but stayed in it.
Yeah, this is where you really tap into the psychosis of a goalie, and especially a good goalie, because I swear with every major save that he came up with, where it was just like, oh my God, another glove save, an impossible glove save by Jeremy Swayman. You see how amped up he's getting every time he makes these saves. You can see the confidence on him, you can see the swagger on him, and like when you have a goalie just over there, I think he's one of the few goalies you ever see between the pipes just cheesing away. I don't know too many other guys that I just see completely smiley behind their mask. So it's just like, it's really awesome to see. But then another kudo to Jeremy Swayman and his performance thus far this season. You touched on it earlier, like Hampus Lindholm out at one point, Charlie McAvoy out now. You're talking about pillars that leading up to this season, we were like, oh, just wait to see how things are when the defense is more consistent and structured in front of a Jeremy Swayman. He's not relying on a defense to be structured in front of him. He's relying on his own game to come up strong for this team, and there's been significant changes in front of him, and it hasn't changed his ability to show up for the Bruins. And I just keep thinking back to what Raycroft said at one point when he was just like, he has simplified his game, and I didn't watch him as closely last year, but now game in and game out, you're just seeing he's not overdoing it, and he just has a different air to him. And we kind of hoped that that was going to be the case after talking to him this summer, and it's great to see that he's going to get a different, I would say, theme around his name.
No, 100%. And Razor's going to we'll probably do a goalie demo tomorrow in our pregame show.
That would be awesome.
Plug that. But one of the things he's been saying is his rebound control has been great. But I like that Jeremy Swayman will cover the puck and elect to take a face-off. You don't always want to do that. You want to give your guys a chance to clear it. But I feel like he's made so many smart decisions when he's covered the puck. There's a whistle, face off, the guys settle, and usually that's the right decision. And Jeremy Swayman's been good at showing that.
Well, and he can do it now with a team that he trusts in the face-off circle.
Yeah.
You know, the Bruins are one of the better teams when it comes to face-offs, and now you've got one of the best face-off guys in Elias Lindholm back in the mix, and a number of guys that have stepped up too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Big difference maker. Guys, we're going to send it to break. Coming up later in the show, we're going to have Scott McLaughlin join us, producer at WEEI and Odyssey Sports, and of course has been covering the Boston Bruins. And Jamie Lee Rattray is coming up from the PWHL. We're going to ask her about her new captain, new coach, the start of the season, and more right after the break. Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. Sophia and Casey here with you. A little update from the Boston Bruins. Viktor Arvidsson, if you're just joining us, did skate today with the team. He led the warm-ups, and he should be going on, led the stretch after practice, and he should be going on the plane to play in Detroit. David Pastrnak still out, but we're going to switch our attention to the PWHL and another Boston hockey team that's perfect on the season so far, winning both of their games. We're going to welcome in Jamie Lee Rattray on our show. Thank you so much for being on and joining us on the Hockey Hub. I think we're going to bring her up in just, there we go. We got her. Thanks for joining us on the Hockey Hub.
No worries, guys. How's it going?
Great. All things looking good. You guys are playing well. The Bruins are playing well. It's really tight in the East there, so they're flipping from being second in their division to in a wild card position. You guys are just starting your season, so not there yet in terms of points production, but congratulations on the 2 wins. How has this season felt for you so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I think obviously you want to get off to a really good start, and we were able to do that this past week. And a lot of new things for us, right? New coaching staff, a lot of new players, but it's been a ton of fun getting to know everybody. And honestly, training camp was a ton of fun, and just kind of getting to know Chris and our new staff and how they kind of want our team to play. And it's been a ton of fun. And I honestly believe we have such a great group of people, and that's where it starts. And it's kind of shown how it works this last week, and it's been a ton of fun.
Starting with the many new pieces, of course, perfect blend of veterans and some rookies in the mix, which we'll get to in a little bit, new head coach, and some new changes when it comes to your system. A lot of speed is what Megan Keller talked about, and being hard to play against. You get 2 low-scoring games. What's it feel like to, first of all, come out and beat Montreal, because you guys had so many neck-and-neck matchups with them last year? And when I talked to Megan, she just said the fact that, like, it's always intense between Boston and Montreal, and that translates across every sport, but very much with you guys. What did that feel like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've had some good history against that team, and I think honestly, like playing, against players like Marie-Philippe Poulin, Laura Stacey, I mean, you always want to beat the best, right? So I think we did a really good job in game 1 of just shutting them down, and it was a lot of fun to play that way, right? It's so much fun to just stifle the other team, and I'm super proud of our group and how we did that. And then obviously moving on to Toronto this past weekend, we just kind of found a way to get the win. And honestly, that's what great teams do. I know it's so cliche, but it's honestly a great way for our team to kind of rally around each other too, right? They're always not going to be picture perfect. And I was super proud of our group, and we kind of got like little block shots, little great plays everywhere. And then obviously when you have Aaron Frank on the net, you can always win any game.
Yeah, Spar mentioned the fact that you guys have the best goaltender in the league, and you've seen you guys be able to rally in front of her plenty of times. Communication has been a key term used for your new head coach, and he prides himself on his ability to communicate. Adjustments were made during the game versus Toronto to make sure that you guys were able to come out on top of that. How crucial has it been to have a coach that's able to communicate and make such adjustments so that you guys can prevail in such tough matchups?
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I mean, I think, you always want your coach to tell you what's going on. I think especially in the pro game, I think especially for the girls coming out of college too, I think it's so important for them to know where they stand and where they fit in each lineup. And I think he's done such a great job of that early on, right? I think it can be hard as a young player coming into a new team, especially at the pro level, trying to figure out where you fit. And I think he's done a really good job of that so far. And even as a veteran player coming into this season, I felt like I knew exactly what I needed to do and what he wanted from me. And it's so much easier as an athlete when you know what your coach wants from you. I think it's a great thing, and he's been awesome so far.
Yeah, we got to interview Chris a little bit. I don't know him that well, but we had him on for something we do here, Jimmy Fun, which is a telethon to raise money for cancer clinics and cancer research. And we have a lot of guests on, and Chris was one of our guests. He seemed very chatty, very excited and honored with the opportunity. And I liked hearing that. I liked that he and his family were so excited to move from Canada, come down and make this kind of his own thing. So other than what he's like as a coach, as a person, do you get to see, a lot of that side of him, or what's that like with you guys in the room and outside of the room, on the road, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been awesome to see kind of his, family side as well, right? Like, I think it was cool in Toronto. He's from Burlington, Ontario, and myself, my wife, and I, in the off season, lived there around in Toronto area. So we had a lot of family in town. It was just cool how he opened his arms to everybody, right? Everyone who wants to have their family around. He's really welcoming, which is just kind of what we want, right? Around the dressing room and around the team, as we want a family atmosphere. And now we have a 6-month-old, my wife and I too. So it just makes you feel very comfortable. And he himself has kind of prided himself on that. So I think it just makes it so much easier for the players to feel comfortable, right? Not just at the rink, but away from it. And I think that's something that we've always wanted to build here in Boston the first, 2 to 3 seasons, is we want to make sure girls are comfortable coming to the rink. They can just be themselves. And honestly, as an athlete, when you're just yourself and feeling comfortable in your own skin, you perform better, right? So I think he's kind of gone off what we've kind of done the last couple of years and kind of continued that so far. And that's something, awesome we want in our dressing room and outside of our dressing room.
Jamie, congratulations on your baby with your wife. I was going to take it more to hockey, but I do want to ask, what is your schedule like? Like, how do you guys manage that? And especially if eventually you guys will be going out with we want to touch on the expansion, but you're going out even further west now. So what's your schedule like day to day, and how are you managing being a new mom?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the schedule day-to-day changes a bit, but I think it's been a lot of fun. I think, obviously my wife's, she's a rock star. She helps out when I'm at the rink, and she's such a great mom. But I think honestly, it hasn't changed too much. I mean, I think you kind of figure it out as you go. I mean, all the parents out there know you just kind of continue on, and I think it gives you a little extra boost sometimes when you come home and see him. So it's been a lot of fun, and the cool thing is in our league he gets to come on a lot of road trips too. So it's so cool to see him, alongside 20 other players, and he gets passed around the plane, around the bus, and what a cool way for him to grow up and to be surrounded by such great women, a great group of women, and I couldn't imagine a better way for his better first year of his life, really.
Did it change your off season at all? Because chasing around a little baby, even if they're just a couple months old, tends to be a workout. My best friend calls her mom arms the strongest arm she's ever had in her entire life. So did that change your off season at all?
It did a bit. I mean, not too much, but I think, the mom arms are a real thing. You get tired a little quicker but we have a nice gym set up at home. So that was kind of number one priority before he was born, was to get a good setup for the off season. So I was able to do a lot of, kind of work from home, if that makes sense. But I mean, it changes obviously a little bit, right? I don't get to just come home and lay on the couch all day. I think that changes a bit, but I think you kind of go on fight or flight, and that's just the way it goes. And it's been a ton of fun. All right. I think we've had a lot of great support with our families as well, which really helps.
Listen, the Songa Center has great turnout, but you're going to be playing a couple games at Aganis Arena. What's that like for you guys playing in the center of Boston? What do you anticipate with that?
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. I think, we've had a couple games there last year, and the energy and the crowd was amazing. And it's such a cool feeling, right? Driving into the city that way, and, you're going in for a big sporting event. Now as a player, it's so fun, right? I think now being here for 3 years, I've kind of seen, how Boston rallies around their sports teams, and it's so cool. So we've seen nothing but love, and no matter where we play. But I think obviously going down to Aganis this next week is going to be awesome, and the girls love it too. So.
Another pillar to the team, Tapani, you and her have just had this tremendous connection, especially helping you guys push through to 2-0 so far on the season. What's it been like connecting with her and growing through, the changes that the organization have seen over the past 3 years, and being able to be a crucial part of this team's success early on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to play alongside her, right? I mean, she's so good. I think she kind of makes the game look really easy, right? She floats around out there, but yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate enough to play, I guess, together now about 2.5 years. Obviously she joined us midway through year one, but yeah, she's awesome. And I mean, I think we've kind of always played really well together. So just trying to keep that going. And I mean, if you give her the puck in the right spots, she's probably going to score, 95% of the time. So I'll try my best to keep doing that.
Hey, just to take it outside of the league for a second, the Olympics are coming up. What's that schedule, training, and is the league allowed when the team is going to be named? Like I know with in the NHL, not all the players or rosters have been named. So is that the same process for you guys? And when do you find out?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably similar to what the NHL guys are going through, right? There's a pool of players for each country that are considered, and I'm not exactly sure when they're going to name the teams, but again, it's the cool thing about the way that our game is now is that there's a league to watch, and those coaches and those scouts that have to name those teams have some tougher decisions because of the hockey we're playing. So I would probably guess, leading up to Christmas or just after Christmas, I'm sure they probably have some good ideas of what they're going to do. And obviously our league breaks similar to what the NHL does. So, for the girls that are going, it's going to be an awesome experience. And then for the girls that, have to stay back in their hubs, I think we'll get some great, good training into as well. So either way, it's going to be, a good month of work. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be those scouts and coaches making those decisions, especially with the way our league is, and there's so many great players from so many great places.
A lot of talent. Quick twofold before we let you go. First of all, how is Megan Keller crushing it as you guys' new captain? Because we were so excited to chat with her about that. And did you see the Fleet games and know that you've got 4 teammates that are really big cheaters?
That doesn't surprise me that Levy cheats, because I mean, it's Levy.
You went straight to the one that was the biggest cheater too.
I mean, to be honest, we're athletes, right? We just want to win any way we can. But I mean, Megan Keller, I think it was a no-brainer, right, in terms of who our captain was going to be. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to play with her now for, this is the 3rd season with her, and I've had to play against her enough internationally. I'm sick of playing against her, so it's nice being her teammate. But she's just a phenomenal leader, right? And I think just the way she carries herself every day does it, in itself. And to be honest, I think she just makes everyone around her feel comfortable, which is a huge thing as a leader. I think everyone can come in the room, like I said earlier, can just be themselves and feels comfortable around her. And I don't think many people know. I mean, I think you can see it on the ice, but she's probably one of the most competitive people I've ever met, right? She wants to be the best. And in my eyes, she's one of the best D in the world. And she does that for us every single game. And she's been an awesome, awesome leader for us.
We're so happy you made the time to join us on our show. Thank you so much for talking about the Fleet, the upcoming season, new leadership, new coach, and Olympics as well. Good luck the rest of the way. Maybe we'll check in midway through the season, but thanks again for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, we're going to send it to break over here, and on the other side, we got Scott McLaughlin joining us from WEEI, and he's got his thoughts. He was just at Warrior for practice. He's got his thoughts on the Bruins next. Welcome back to the Hockey Up. Sophia and Casey here with you, and we're going to bring in our guest, senior content producer for WEEI and Odyssey Sports, co-host of the WEEI Skate podcast, Scott McLaughlin, who was at not skate, but at practice at Warrior. Scott, thanks for coming on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, we got the big news. I wasn't there, but we got the big news that Viktor Arvidsson led the stretch, and he should be playing after missing several games with an injury. So he should be back in the lineup, which means that second line is back together. But there has been some shuffling. Looks like Murat's down to the fourth line. What did you see from practice today? What can you update us on ahead of this game against the Detroit Red Wings?
Yeah, I think the Bruins will be very relieved to have that second line back together with Pavel Zacha centering Casey Mittelstadt and Viktor Arvidsson. That had been a very good line for the Bruins before both Arvidsson and Mittelstadt got hurt. They're still obviously missing David Pastrnak in the top 6, so you're still without your biggest forward. But they are getting healthier elsewhere. Like you mentioned, Murat Husnudinov staying in the lineup but moving down to the fourth line. I asked Marco Sturm about that because he's gone a little quiet offensively recently, and Sturm thinks this is kind of just the ups and downs of a young player, being a full-time NHLer. So he moves down a little. Alex Steeves gets to stay up in the lineup. He'll be on a line with Elias Lindholm and Morgan Geekie, and Steeves has really been playing well and taking advantage of this opportunity that he's had with all these injuries.
Where do you think the degree of separation came in between, Steeves and Husnudinov? Because we love your analysis, we love your insight on your tweets throughout the game. And I know at one point you felt like Steeves was popping more when he got into that bottom 6 role versus the top 6 responsibility. But is it the two-way capability? Because, 3 goals, he's got 39 hits, 13 block shots, and can contribute both ways. What kind of separated his opportunity versus Husnudinov, who we were all high on just a week or two ago?
Yeah, I think what Steeves is doing on the forecheck is a big factor here. He's physical. He's been, most of the games he's played, he's been among the Bruins team leaders in hits, and a lot of that is coming on the forecheck, separating defensemen from the puck. The Bruins' first goal on Saturday against Detroit, Steeves doesn't get a point, but he's the one who forces the turnover with a hit on the defenseman, forces a bad pass up the boards. Elias Lindholm gets it on net, and Morgan Geekie tips it in. So I think stuff like that has allowed him to stick for now in the top 6. Ultimately, when everyone's healthy, he probably moves down the lineup as well. Murat Husnudinov has done a lot of good things, and we've seen him make an impact while playing with skilled players. In terms of his ability to win pucks back, given an A+ effort all over the ice, just about every shift. But he has gone a little quiet. And so kind of to what Marco Sturm was talking about on Monday after practice, you got to kind of manage that a little bit with younger players and kind of recognize when maybe they've lost a little bit of what they had a week or two ago, move them down, maybe reduce the minutes a little, and hope he can kind of find that again.
Actually, we do have Marco Sturm's sound. I didn't realize it was your question. So we're going to play his thoughts on Murat Husnudinov just for a second, Scott. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, usually the third line is one of my most important lines, believe it or not. Because I need him for everything, pretty much. I shouldn't be worried about, for me it's a check-in line, I'm a little bit more old school on that. And I think Fraser and that line can do it both by now. I trust them when they play against the big boys. I trust them in any other situation. So that's what I'm looking forward for a third line. We're still not there yet, but they definitely create their own identity a little bit.
And how much has Kastelic's kind of emergence helped smooth the transition for that line?
Yeah, you need every line needs a little bit of motor, I would say. I think that's for that line. I think Cass is the motor a little bit, just the way he plays. So yeah, it helps the other two guys too. So he's been excellent for that. Yeah, no, I put him in a lot of tough situations with a lot of injuries out. I think his playing time went up. As a young kid, it's not easy to be consistent. So you could see a little bit up and down, slightly though, only slightly up and downs. So that's something, I think it's just good for him. It's very good for him to learn that kind of stretch, to play more minutes, more situations, different lines. So again, he's one of my young kids. I'm looking forward to teach more because he has something where a lot of other guys don't have. So and that, I'm not saying up and down, but those kind of stretches, he just needs to learn from that.
Okay, just kidding. We threw in some sound from the third line as well, which we will discuss. But just to piggyback off of your question and what he was talking about with Murat Husnudinov, how do you feel Marco has been as a coach? We called him a player's coach in the offseason and before we got to know him, very communicative. We know they don't have a captain. We know he's done a good job in reading where players maybe play better. Casey and I were talking about Mittelstadt being on the wing, Zach at center. He's kind of playing to their strengths there. How do you feel he's been with some of these younger guys in terms of communication and letting them know where they stand?
I think he's been good. I think it's been very clear communication. I think guys know what is expected of them. They've learned a new system. And if he's going to take away ice time or even bench them, I think it's communicated why it's happening and what is expected of them. A, to get back in the lineup, and then B, what to do when they are back in the lineup. And we've seen this now with a lot of guys who have responded well. Husnudinov was a healthy scratch for, I think, 5 games. He comes back in and plays well. Mason Lohrei was a healthy scratch for 5 games. He has played well since getting back in. Casey Mittelstadt was a healthy scratch for 1 game. Responded well, came back in, started playing his best hockey before he got hurt. So it seems like guys are receptive to his message and are buying in. And in year 1 with a new coach, that is really so critical. Obviously, there were some growing pains early on, learning a new system. They had, more than a few defensive zone mix-ups. A lot of that has been cleaned up. It's not perfect yet, and it might never be perfect because this is the NHL and the game just moves too fast. But they're clearly have gotten better, and I think are really receptive to Marco Sturm's messaging.
I'd say a large part of things trending in the right direction, or at least solidifying their identity, is being able to have a reliable, accountable line. This third line is unbreakable, and he mentioned it there in the sound that we just ran. And the trust is both ways. They are relying on Sturm to kind of guide them to be the line that they need to be, but vice versa. They've shown up tremendously. How have you just seen this third line really kind of anchor some of the better games for the Boston Bruins, or kind of help them in some of those tougher matchups? Because this is one line that hasn't been shuffled around, but we know exactly why that's the case. And third line strength across the NHL is crucial to any success for the team, especially over the last, I want to say, 5-6 seasons.
Yeah, it really is. And I think this was a pretty big question coming into the season because you knew you had a top line, and then you kind of look after that. You knew you had depth for a fourth line, but it was like, what are the second and third lines going to be? And this third line with Fraser Minten centering Mark Kastelik and Tanner Jeannot has really become the Bruins' identity line. Like, that's, I think, the best way to put it. It's like, this is the line that really helps set the way that the Bruins want to play night in, night out. They're starting a lot of games. They're starting a lot of periods. They get shifts after power plays and penalty kills. And really, like, the physicality of Jeannot and Kastelik on the wings has allowed them to get more possession in the offensive zone, create chances, create turnovers. Fraser Minten, even as a rookie, even as a first-year, full-time NHLer, is just such a smart player that he can win pucks back. He can take care of things defensively. And so you might not have penciled this in as your third line going into the year, but it really has clicked very well. And like you said, become a line that Marcus Sturm has not touched, even as he's had to change other things because of injuries, even in-game injuries. Like, I think it was the Islanders game. Bruins were down to 11 forwards for most of that game. So guys are naturally shuffling in and out, and you're getting different combinations. And yet that third line was still a line that he didn't change. He kept rolling them out there together as a line.
Yeah, and you've also seen their time on ice kind of like shoot to the top, especially against that West Coast trip there for a number of opponents where you just see this trust is completely established for these guys. I've got to ask, and we don't have to go into the contract part of it, but seeing as how each guy significantly made their presence known on that third line, who's kind of impressed you the most or jumped off the page? Because also in the sound, you hear the raves for Kastelik there and just kind of how he's getting to a game that everyone knew he could get to. But looking at this line, it's just like Fraser Minten's a young guy who's showing off. Tanner Jeannot has been tremendous in a number of games, and you're seeing like keen passes come to life for him as well. So if you could pick one, who's really jumped out at you the most?
I think it would still be Fraser Minten, just because he is a first-year full-time NHLer, and he's only 21. Like, to see a player that age and that inexperienced as a pro already seem to understand the game so well and read plays so well. A couple weeks ago, I talked to Nikita Zadorov about him, and Zadorov said the thing that stands out to him about Fraser Minten is his stick, and just the way his stick is always in the right position to take away passing lanes, to break up plays, to make poke checks. And Zadorov said, like, a lot of young players don't do that or aren't smart enough to like know that yet. So to see it from a 21-year-old rookie is pretty impressive. So Kastelik has definitely been impressive. I did not envision him being a third liner. I thought he was, more of a fourth liner. But I would still have to pick Minten.
You mentioned Zadorov. I do want to touch on him a little bit. As you know, I'm not around the room that much to hear him in post-game after wins or losses or around practices that much anymore. But he definitely has a different presence on the ice. Like, we've talked about it in our pre- and post-game show, that he may be making or taking hits or making hits rather, or the little cross-check on Schaefer. It wasn't little to Islanders fans, but taking penalties. But we were kind of saying not bad ones, like ones that kind of change the momentum of the game or send a message. Like, he just seems obviously very different on the ice, a difference maker, the assists, the way he's attacking, his passes, all of that. But off of the ice in the room, do you notice a different Nikita Zadorov? And if so, what has changed in your mind?
Yeah, I think he's a lot more comfortable in year 2 as a Boston Bruin. So I talked to him on Thanksgiving morning, actually, because he was the Bruin who was out delivering pies to a couple homeless shelters, and I was able to tag along for a couple of those stops. And he said, it takes time to acclimate to a new situation, and he basically admitted, I'm not always the quickest guy to do that. And he's made comments like that a couple of times about how last year it took him some time to get to know his new teammates. I think at one point last year he said early on he was making jokes that guys didn't really seem to get, or they didn't know his his sense of humor. So it kind of took him a little bit to warm up to it and fit in. And now I think this year he came in and knew he was part of this leadership core, whether he was wearing a letter or not, which he wasn't to start the season, but he has been recently with all the injuries. He was part of the group that got together over the summer just to kind of talk about the direction of the team, where they were going, what they wanted to do after such a bad season last year. And like that group was really, it was him, it was Pasternak, McAvoy, both Lindholms, and like maybe one or two other guys, but that was kind of the core. And I think being part of that sort of allowed him to realize like, okay, yes, I am one of this team's leaders. I am a guy that people are going to look to. And now he's just a lot more comfortable and has found, I think, the voice that will resonate with this team.
Yeah, I think it takes people a minute to realize his character, but also if you pay attention to his resume, considering a number of the guys that he's played with and what former players say about him, it's definitely great to see him come into his own in this Bruins locker room. Any other voices that have kind of jumped out at you outside of Nikita Zadorov? Because, of course, being captainless at the moment, you see a number of guys kind of fine-tuning their ability to have a voice or the timing of having a voice. And this locker room has seen adversity, of course, with these injuries and being a new group, but you don't see it translate on the ice. You see them still be a pretty kept together group in the midst of it all.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're figuring out, the guys who are at the top of the leadership group, they're figuring out how to be at the top, right? Like your David Pasternak and Charlie McAvoy, they've been leaders here for a while, but they always had someone above them, whether it was going back to Chara, Bergeron, most recently Brad Marchand. So they've been figuring that out. Hampus Lindholm, Elias Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov as kind of those secondary leaders. Like, it's an elevated role for them. And then you're looking for guys even beyond that to have a voice. Sean Corrali as a fourth-line center, I think has a voice on the whole team, but also specifically like within that group on his line and as a top penalty killer. So, yeah, they're finding more that Tanner Jeannot is a leader. Like, that's part of why he was brought in. So you're starting to get this mix of more and more voices that can speak up. I think Morgan Geekie he would probably describe himself as maybe more of a reluctant leader, but he, I think, is finding his voice. And certainly he's leading on the ice with his play, but even in the room, I think he has more of a voice now than he did, maybe even at the end of last season.
Yeah, and they often say when you're playing well, your voice kind of resonates or you're more confident to speak up in the room. What do you expect from this game 2 of this home and home series? I love them. They were a thing when I was growing up. I'm sure when you were growing up as well. I grew up in Toronto, so it was often like Toronto Buffalo, Toronto Detroit, Toronto Ottawa, home and home. Those were so fun, and I like that they're coming back. What do you expect, especially with that fight? I know Mark Kastelik's going to have to watch his back for part 2 in Detroit this time.
Yeah, I would expect it to be a pretty intense game. Like you said, things got pretty heated. The Kastelik Seider fight leading the way. But yeah, I'm with you, Sophia. Like, I like this as well because you just don't play teams enough throughout, even division rivals, enough throughout the season to really have like a season-long rivalry. So it's like if you can create a rivalry within like a week or two span, at least something, I think it helps. And it feels like Detroit has kind of been, from a Bruins perspective, like almost the forgotten Atlantic Division rival. It's like that they've had bigger rivalries with probably just about every other team in the division recently. And Detroit's been, until now, one of these like perpetually rebuilding teams for a decade. So there hasn't been a lot there. So if something like this can help kind of turn that up against a team that the Bruins may very well be battling with for a playoff spot all season long, I like that. And I would expect this to be, a pretty intense game. Obviously, Detroit's going to want to bounce back. They've, even beyond that loss Saturday night in Boston, they've been struggling recently. So I think the Bruins are going to be facing a pretty desperate team.
I was just looking up really quick when the Red Wings left the Western Conference. I was going to say it hasn't been 10 years, but it has. 2012-2013 NHL season. So you're right, it's been a while, and the rivalry is taking a while to kind of be built up. So I'm excited for this. And if we're playing these division rivals a couple times 4 times a year, might as well have one of them be kind of back to back. Thank you so much for joining us, Scott, and we'll have you on a little later on in the year on the show. But thanks for being on the Hockey Hub today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, guys, we are going to send it to break. And Kasey, I have a story about a home and home series or a question I asked that was kind of dumb. I'll share it after the break. We'll send it to break. Kasey and I will be back on the other side. Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. So the home and home series have been, I wouldn't say new, like they happened a lot, but the NHL started to bring them back. But it had been so long since I had done one as a reporter that 3 or 4 years ago there was one actually with Detroit, and I was a reporter, so I was doing a bench interview, and I asked the player, and I'm trying to remember his name. Like, I also think I have short-term memory problems. That's a whole other conversation, but I can see his face. I know he's from Maine. I know he came in the trade deadline, and I can't remember his name. But anyway, he's not with the team anymore. I'm asking him a question about the series. They had just played one at home versus Detroit, and then they were going to Detroit to play another one. And my question was it fun? Like, hey, we're doing a home and home. Was it fun? And I thought that was a good question. And everyone was making fun of me for that being the stupidest question ever. And I was like, well, it was fun for me as a fan. And he even kind of laughed. He's like, yeah, I guess it was kind of fun. Was that a dumb question?
I was going to say, like, what was the result of the game?
It was heated. I don't even remember, but it was heated. It was back and forth. I think I got him after the home and home series, and that's when I asked him, like, you just played a home and home. Was it fun? And then everyone was making fun of me. Staff players, they're like, what kind of a question is that? And I'm like, dude, I thought it was a good question. But anyway, that's my
I guess it was just one of those things, like your buzz versus like reporter/fan versus like his buzz. But like if it was a blowout of some sense, then like maybe
I wouldn't have asked that. It's like you guys lost 10-0. Was it fun though?
Well, no, reverse. Like
Right.
not a blowout, or reverse for it. Like if they put up massive points and like they clearly were just kind of having their way towards their opponent, then like maybe, but no.
Anyway, every time I think of home and home, I just think of was it fun? It's fun for me.
Now
and
I'll
they're
have
in
a
the
new
middle
memory.
of one. They're in the middle of one now, Kasey. Detroit tomorrow in Detroit. Of course, they played at the Garden. We're gonna have pregame at 6 o'clock. So join us, Razor, Billy, and myself. We're gonna be back on Friday. Have a good week, everyone. We'll see you then.